Greetings, back again here, and for this video I wanted to show you something that I've been working on here. And this here is the circuit board from an NES controller, and what I've done here is I've wired this up to work with my Master System. So it has the 9-pin connector here, and the way I went about doing this is I started out by following a tutorial that was posted by Thomas3120, and in that he showed how to modify the NES controller to work with the Atari 2600 and 7800, and so I followed that. And this is basically the same. There are a few differences. One of those is that on the Atari version, the wire coming from pin 5 was hooked up to this point here, but on the Master System pin 5 is not used, so there's no need to hook that up. And also on the Atari one, the wire coming from pin 6 was hooked up over here, but on the Master System controller pin 6 is button 2, so that one gets hooked up here instead. And another difference is that on the Atari there are two resistors coming from this point here, one going over here and another one going over here, and those are for the 7800, so they're not needed here. But other than that, it's the same, and I have made a couple of additions, and I'll show you those in a second here, but I thought I'd just grab the Master System controller here. And the way this is set up here, you have button 1 on the B button, button 2 on the A button, and of course the D-pad is the same. And since the Master System controller doesn't have a dedicated start button, but instead uses button 1, what I did is I wired up the start button on the NES controller to the B button, or button 1. You can see I just did a bridge over here. So if the game tells you to push the start button, you can push the start button. So start button and B button basically do the same thing. What I also did is I hooked up the select button, and the way I did it here is I wired it up the same way that I wired up the pause button on this modified Master System controller. So I probably can't see this too well here, but I got two resistors here, one going to the left of the D-pad and the other one going to the right of the D-pad. So when you press select, it sends both a left and a right signal to the system, and that activates the pause function on my modified Master System. So I can use the select button to pause the game. And yeah, that's basically everything I did with this. And as I said, apart from the few differences here and the two extra buttons that I hooked up, the start and the select, I just followed the tutorial. So I'll put a link to that video in the description, and also a link to my my video showing the the pause button modification. But yeah, I'm gonna put this back together here and just show you how it works. Alright, so I have the NES controller here hooked up to the Master System, and got the Alex Kidd running here. So if we take the controller and we push the start button, we can start the game up, and we have the B button, which is button A on the Master System controller, working, and the A button, or button 2, also working. And of course, if I push the start button, it does the same as this one. And then we have the D-pad working, and pushing select here pauses the game. So yeah, that's my modified NES controller, and that's all I had to show this time. So bye for now, and I'll see you soon.